Well, the heart of rock and roll is no longer beating, and we are all the poorer for it. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I've been really sick, which is unfortunate timing because I spent the month of June cramming in some shows that I've been saving up to go see, and I wanted to talk about them, and I specifically wanted to talk about my next show on here, The Heart of Rock and Roll. Um, the box office has never been awesome for this show, and I bought tickets in May. I was like, I need to see this thing as soon as possible. We technically saw it in June. I don't know why I don't have a Pride bill. I guess they just didn't get them out fast enough. So I did see this early June, and so I'm so glad it has now closed. I was gonna get this video up to commemorate the show when they announced it's closing, but I've been really sick, so I couldn't do that. I don't care that it closed. I'm going to talk about it anyway. You know why? This is a very good show. Just like Lempicka should not be closed. I'm very sad. Um, so I have some thoughts that I just want to put out there because I'm trying to be a part of the Broadway community in some small way. I'm not an influencer. I'm not a producer. Just a fan, just a well-meaning fan. And I do think there's some discord around these kind of shows. Now, again, this is a show I did not pick myself. I do have the means to go to Broadway semi often. It's not like it's a once a year luxury. I live close enough where um I can make it happen because ticket prices are more, but not so much that I've been priced out. I don't care where I sit. There is no shame in sitting in the last couple rows. Depending on the show, those could be the best seats. Now, this show was not charging very much. So I did spring for orchestra, but we did not pay what is normally an orchestra level seat. But it was a very good seat. The James Earl Jones Theater, never been to, adore it. I was not having a good day the day that we saw this. But as soon as I walked into that theater, I felt so much better. The James Earl Jones just hugs you. It was cozy. And I don't know Huey Lewis in the News music. I'm a regular music idiot. And even though I was alive for the 80s and totally his era, and it's not like I didn't recognize songs as the show unfolded, but I don't know the music like real well. I wasn't able to sing along. I only knew a few bits here and there. So I was like, oh, a jukebox musical that's Huey Lewis in the News? Don't care. Now, I am not of the discord that is the minute you say jukebox musical, I'm checking out. I love Mamma Mia. Not high art, but I don't need all of my entertainment to be high art. Heart of Rock and Roll is not a deep think piece. And thankfully for me, I don't like jukebox musicals that are going the Beautiful Noise MJ route of it's their life. Nothing wrong with that. It's just not my thing. There's clearly a market for it, though. I'm sorry. If you are a jukebox musical hater, I'm sorry that they're here to stay. They have to at least run through the gamut of anyone who's been at least popular enough. They will eventually run out of music artists to do this with. So at least the pool of where they can pull this from is finite. I'm happy to report that this is a show that doesn't go the semi autobiography route. It goes the Mamma Mia route where it's like it just happens to be music already that exists, a musical catalog that exists, but the story has nothing to do with Huey Lewis. It's not his rise to fame and then his fall and then redemption and blah blah. Been there, done that. Don't care. It's totally made up story. Um, Using music that's already pre-existing before the show, and in a season that is packed. I mean, it's packed on Broadway, which I think is almost always true. It just felt like more because they all opened in rapid succession this spring. There's a little samey wameness going on. Like you have The Notebook and you have Water for Elephants and you have The Outsiders. They're all classic books, but they're not happy stories, and they all have this whole remember when we were young and Oh, when people died tragically young. Oh, it's so sad. And Great Gatsby, all these well-known books, but they're kind of heavy and they have themes. And ooh, they want you to feel the feelings, like the Notebook allegedly hands out little boxes of tissues that say the Notebook on it because they know you were here to cry. There's a place for that. That's fine. Heart of Rock and Roll is not that. In a world of let's be sad and let's think and let's have this huge social commentary, it is wonderfully refreshing to have a palate cleanser. Heart of Rock and Roll is so sweet without being saccharine. It's so joyous. And when you have a shitty day, like how I did the day that we saw, like I was just not having a good day. Outside sources, not important. I'm not going to bore you with those details. And so I went into the show in a really bad mood. I was like, I'm here because I spent the money and my kid asked me to bring her. And, I have a checklist. Heart of Rock and Roll was just the second one on a list. I got to punch through these shows. And I am so glad, once again, if you watch my channel at all, you're starting to hear the refrain of, oh, maybe you should let the kid pick all the shows because she seems to pick right. To miss the show is a mistake. If you did not see this show, I am sad for you. I hope this thing tours. It is so fun. It is so silly. But you feel so good when it's done. So, what is the Heart of Rock and Roll? Basic plot premise. Well, you have this guy, his name's Bobby, who is, they're not breaking the mold here. They're not reinventing the wheel. It's a very pedestrian story. He lives a very ho hum vanilla life, but he does dream of being something more. But what's different about this story is the dream used to be I want to be a hardcore rock star. But that's not really the dream anymore. That back when he was young, that's who he was. But he's an adult now. His dream is to be an important person at the company he happens to work for now. So he works at this cardboard manufacturing, producing company. And so his big plan is to land a high client account so that it makes him look good. So he can be promoted and he can be someone, he can say he did something meaningful with his life. That's the big dream. And because he's so bad at it, he's not very good at, oh, this is what the company needs. So I'm going to do this to help them. Oh, and he means so well, but he really screws up. Shenanigans ensue. And so there's a lot of slapstick, a lot of lighthearted. It wouldn't happen in real life. In real life, you would have a conversation and resolve it and be fine. But then there's no story to watch. So he works for this company and he's trying to impress the boss, and the boss has a daughter, and of course they're going to become a love interest. Again, this is plot wise, what's coming largely. There's not a lot of surprises that come at you. There's a couple surprises. So if this does tour, I'm not going to spoil them here. There are some delightful things that happen. The show has a villain, but I'm going to use that term loosely. So a villain, because the boss's daughter, who's going to be his love interest, of course, she has an ex-boyfriend who, of course, is not the right kind of guy for her, and that he doesn't like this new guy that's coming in, and so he's like, hang on, you. I don't think you're good enough for my girl. I want my girl back. Why we broke up is not important. I don't even know if they mentioned why they broke up. It doesn't matter. He needs obstacles to overcome. Obstacles are overcome, and it ends well. Nobody dies, okay? We don't always have to have death so that we have some impact, some meaningfulness. And what's really unique about this story is it's just ordinary people. They don't do anything extraordinary. They don't experience anything super extraordinary. So the inciting incident happens where his next big idea is to go with the company to this 3-day conference, land this account, which not the way he intended, kind of sort of does happen. And everyone is settled. Like the company was in trouble, but now it's going to be in less trouble. And I don't know. It's like it's everyday people doing everyday things. And so the stakes are not very high. they're high to them because it's personal, but to us, the outsider, we're not like, oh my God, if he messes this up, someone's going to die. The biggest thing that could happen is if he messes it up like to the hard core that he could, the company might go under. And so people will lose their jobs, and that's upsetting. But you kind of know the entire time that that's not really what's at stake. Um, it's sort of like a midlife crisis. It's like, do I want to pursue this? Maybe I should pursue other things because his ghosts of Christmas past come to visit him, and he's like, well, I don't know. It may not be too late to live this other life. So I think your takeaway, if you want to read anything deep into the text, what I think your takeaway is supposed to be is if there is something you want to do, if there's something you genuinely love, as far as we know, you only get one life, you only get one shot. How do you want to use your time? Do you want to use it doing the safe, secure thing? Does it actually fulfill? Do you want to do this other dream thing that might be impossible, but if you love it enough, you should chase it? Maybe the truth is in the middle somewhere. So I do think this show does a good job of answering the whole was a good choice for each character involved. Because everyone has some growth, everyone learns something, but it's not too deep. But it is all stuff that's impactful to their lives. Their lives will be better for the journey they went on. Easy to digest, really flowy, good music. I didn't recognize every song, but the songs I recognized, I was like, oh yeah, this is nice. It just it felt good in a world that is so preoccupied with diversity and social justice and the environment. And I mean, you name a problem that we're suffering. It was nice to watch a show that's not consumed by that, that isn't concerned with, well, yeah, but what's the social media response going to be, and what's the other side going to think, and blah blah blah. Those are important things. I'm not saying we shouldn't explore them. It's just nice to know that not every single show is going to spend its time going, we need to explore the things. It felt like it was more, this could happen anytime because people are going to people, and you do have to make choices in life. So this is just about what path do you go down. If you have multiple avenues, which most of us do, every choice you make has a consequence, but every choice you make also has a benefit. So you just got to weigh it out and go which one suits you the best. Not too hard to go with. So I am relieved I saw this. This was such a good time. The cast was stellar. Now, to point out a few, like I do, our lead, Bobby, is played by Corey Cott. I guess he's a name. I don't recognize this name. I apologize. I'm not an expert. I thought he was okay at times, but my gripe, I don't think I can blame at him because I had a hearing problem. There were times when it felt like he was belting, but I couldn't hear him. Or like his relationship to the band didn't feel correct. So I don't know if it was a mic problem. I don't know if it was an acoustic problem. As a lighting designer myself, and I work next to the sound designer, and watching them with all the toggles and the setting volumes, and it changes every day. I know that the amount of people in the room, the atmosphere, it doesn't matter how much they set levels. Every performance is unique. I've been in the booth enough times to be like, right, no matter how much you try to make every show the same, they're not identical, especially in the world of sound. So that could have been a sound problem. He didn't feel as magnetic as I think he needed to be. It felt like it took him all of Act One to really get there because he was really on fire in Act Two. So I just don't know if he's like one of those slow burn performers. And I only noticed it because the characters around him were on fire instantly. So it just felt like they were already there and he was like trying to catch up. So solid leading man, but I've seen better. But I think my problems with him were not necessarily his fault. I would have had to have seen it more than once to accurately report that to you. Whereas Mackenzie Kurtz, who plays the boss's daughter, apparently played Glinda for a time. So good. Oh, let's see. Cassandra, I think her name in the show. So funny. you can tell she's played Glinda, you know, everything comical that Glinda does, it was all here. A lot of face acting, a lot of emotions because she's going through some choices too. Totally on fire, loved her. At this exact performance, the role of her father was played by Kevin. Gonna put the name here. Parsiu. He's not normally the father. Solid job. Oh, the ex-boyfriend, Wyatt, right? Josh. Well, that's a surname for it. Josh Breckenridge. Breckenridge. Very funny. Oh my god. There were things his character did that did not make sense. Like he's the one who unmasks Bobby's secret plan of his dual life, but like it's the kind of thing where I'm like, I don't see why anyone would care about this. How did you find out? Like, you know what? It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. He's deliciously like baby evil, like strokey beard, like, yes, it's all gonna go my way. Oh, it was camp without being too campy. You know, like camp is a hard area to live in because I think there is a line, and if you cross it, you just go into ridiculous. This show is right on that line, but it doesn't cross it, not from where I sit. Loved him. And then there's like, you know how there's always a secondary couple. There's a secondary couple that the girl is friends with Cassandra, and her boyfriend works with the ex-boyfriend in their big wig company, blah, 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 but the details don't matter. The point is you have your B couple, very funny, very charismatic, totally believe them as a couple. They were so charming. So they were played by F. Michael Hain and Zoe Jensen. Oh, so good together. And then you have a whole other character who, you know, they kind of have to be the voice of reason. They're the ones who point out when our hero is doing something they shouldn't. Like they're the ones who give a little bit of advice, right? Or they're the ones who are like, not that way, go this way. Her name is Roz. She is played by Tamika Lawrence, also very funny, very charming. Um, Really, the only other character of consequence is the big time client that Bobby's trying to land, Otto Fjord, played by Orville Mendoza. So funny. So I don't want to spoil it just in case. If this tours, go see it. It's so fun. If you just need a good night of fun, go see this thing. Please tour. I'm nobody. I have like 30 views ever. But if anyone who has any power over the heart of rock and roll, if you have any say in whether or not to tour this thing, tour this thing. It will tour so well. Okay. Middle America is gonna love it. um, so good, so good. They do things. It doesn't feel pedestrian. Um, they do try to do inventive things. Like since they take this partially takes place in a cardboard making factory, they do have a sequence where they're tap dancing on bubble wrap. Now that sounds really gimmicky. Now that I've seen it, I think I've seen better dances. It's not like, ooh, that really makes the thing. But it is so fun that they thought to include it. That's just a nice little touch. And there's some audience interaction that I'm not going to spoil, but audience participation happens and it's fun. It's just a nice little, it's just these, it's like little sprinkles. Your Sunday doesn't need sprinkles, but you're not sad that they're there if you're a colorful person, if you like the color. Um, if you come out of this show not having a good time, then you must be dead inside. Like I have no explanation because I'm a cynical person and I loved this show. This show was just so fun. It deserved more time. And I understand that not everything's going to make it on Broadway. I didn't think this was going to run 10 years, but I really thought it would run a year for sure. I was like, give it a year because it's so different from everything else that's playing right now. Everything else is so serious. Everything else is so important. Like they're either telling you a tragic story or they're telling you an important story, like, oh, but here's something that today's audiences, need to have a reckoning with. Yeah, good, great. I'm just so glad that there was one little show in there that was like, we're not interested in that. We're just here to entertain you. We have a silly idea, and the cast was strong enough, and the material that they were given was strong enough. It was inventive enough. As pedestrian as the plot is, it's all about presentation of that um, tried and true storytelling. They did not rest on their laurels. It didn't feel half-assed. It felt so sincere and genuine. It's a real shame. I mean, the box office for the show was bad. I mean, bad. And I don't understand it, because if you're going to complain that tickets are too high, if you want to see a Broadway level show but not pay Broadway level prices, well, this show is for you. You could sit in the orchestra for $40, basically. I paid $40 for our seats. That's amazing. I don't think there was any $100 seats, or they had to have been just those premium, like fourth row center, first row balcony, something like that. If price is what drives you, like, oh, I want to see a Broadway level show, but I don't really want to pay premium prices. This was your show. This is for the people who are like, I just want to have that Broadway experience, but I don't really want to overpay. This was here. It was totally saying, hey, come on in. We're not charging very much because we just need the eyeballs. We do need to sell some tickets. I don't know how this lived as long as it did. Who in that production had a sugar daddy? Was it Huey Lewis? Was he like, I'm just gonna pour my own money as long as I can? Um, but sadly it only lasted, like, I don't think even quite 2 months from opening night to closing night, those exact dates. Uh, it's a real shame. It didn't need to run forever, but I can't believe A Beautiful Noise got a little over a year. And I don't know if that is reinventing the wheel. I don't mean to crap on that show. If you love Beautiful Noise, good on you. I just, in a world that's complaining about how everything's derivative and everything is not original anymore, I think this at least was trying to offer something a little different. Not so different that you didn't recognize it, but different enough to justify its own existence, because it was special, and it was done so sincerely, and it just, I walked out feeling so good. What I needed, this show gave me great. The lighting was spectacular. The scenery, it wasn't overblown, but they changed it enough because they had enough different locations where, like, right, I get you. I'm following you. The costumes, now they warn you, they say, oh, this is going to be a very 80s show. And I was like, oh, great. It's going to be so tired, and what? Is it look like it's from like Party City, like level lazy? It was not. It was not so overtly 80s that all you could see was the 80s references. They felt like genuine clothing, like tailored properly. You believed where you were. They didn't have to keep telling you, oh, and don't forget it's 1989. It's like, yeah, you can tell. But it was the right amount. The lighting was so good, and the choreography was one of the better elements, honestly. If you appreciate dance, this is a show to see for dance purposes. I'm trying to think of what this show did wrong. Again, it's not a plot that surprises you, but it's like comfort food, right? We all know McDonald's is not good for us, but we like to eat it. Or that's not a great example, but you know what I mean? Like, you can push back against chain restaurants all you want, but they're there for reasons, because sometimes you just want what you know, because there are little surprises in there, enough to make you go, wow, that was nice. It was so nice. And on a more personal level, honestly, for me, because now my kid's really into going to the stage door, which I'm okay with not ever doing. But what I liked about this stage door is, since there were no like hardcore stars in this show, like, not like, oh my god, this person's in it. I liked it because there was like 12 people there, So it felt under control, it felt calm. And my kid actually got to talk to the cast that did come out. Um, and she's a sucker for ensemble members, so she likes going, "Hey, you, dancer number 4, you're special. I saw you. I noticed. I think you're great." She's got that grace going for her. I'm glad that she got to spend some real time with the members of this cast, just because they had some room. You didn't have to worry about the safety of the star person who probably isn't going to come out after a matinee anyway. So even the stage door experience was much more pleasant than it is at other shows. Um, yeah, I'm sad for this show. The heart of rock and roll is no longer beating, and that's so sad. Um, our loss. It truly is. This, hold that up. Okay, if this tours, if you see this, as long as you don't hate Huey Lewis in the news music or that style, you can sit through this. You will have fun. I think it will worm its way into your heart, and you will have such a good time. Very funny, very charming. It should still be here. It deserves more eyeballs, but you know what? The current New York landscape might be too cutthroat. I think in a different year, or if half the shows that open, it probably would have stood a chance. Uh, this really should still be a thing. So I'd like to think that its life is not over. It's just its time on Broadway right now is over. I do hope they tour it. I do think it deserves to go on. Um, if there's any chance that it does, and you stuck with me this long, I hope I've convinced you to go see it because it's just a good time. It's I've seen a lot of shows, and they're starting to feel kind of samey wamey. So it's like, oh, I don't recommend seeing too many in one fell swoop because then you get a little glossed over. Nice palate cleanser for sure. So I know I'm repeating myself. Anyway, just wanted to say that. Wanted to say my piece because I'm finally feeling well enough to do so. Um, Goodbye, Heart of Rock and Roll for now. I hope it's just for now, not forever. You deserve better. Yeah. Raise my glass to you. And yeah, I got way more shows to talk about, so I'll be back in a jiff. So, but that's it for now. Bye.